Hey guys, it's Matt. Really glad, as everyone else is, I'm sure, that 9/11 is over. All the dumb ass specials coming on the Smithsonian Channel, Nat Geo, and HBO look like slapped together a special. I think they started working on it about 5 days ago. It was so horrible, pathetic, just interviewing a bunch of first graders and second graders about their take on 9/11. It was actually pretty sick. It was sick. And first and second graders giving you their insight on life. It was sick. It really was. Um, I mean, literally, like they went out to like a first or second grade classroom, interviewed some kids, and then used just slapped old 9/11 footage around it. I could have done that myself. But I would have delivered the truth to these kids. And then whatever thing. I mean, think how sick that is. They can push their lies onto uh, consenting adults. That's what the people around us are consenting to this system. But to push it on children, ooh man, there's a dark place in hell for these monsters. But anyway, guys, about again the people that would say like the information dump that I did yesterday, Matt, you're going backwards. No, I'll say it again. This is absolutely necessary for two reasons. One is, and I absolutely believe this. Okay, I know this. This is 100% to me. Whatever final solution we come up with, whether it be 1 page, 5 pages, the nature of our predicament, because we see the nature of our predicament, what do we do for ourselves? This type of final summary, no matter what we come up with, whenever we come up with it, nobody's that's at this level, first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade, and I don't mean literal first graders like the HBO special. I mean people just coming into truth at lower levels than most people here. Whatever summary we come up with, they're not going to take it seriously if they haven't been through all the muck themselves. They're not going to even be interested in it. They're not going to understand it. It's not going to resonate with them. They have to go through all the mud themselves. They have to wade through the bog of the swamp. And if yesterday, if I all that maybe they knew 20% of that or 50% of that, but I just dumped more of that those just 9/11 impossible reality anomalies, just covered them with mud. Anybody that sat through that, well, you got to get really dirty before you can get clean. You've got to be completely covered in the mud to get clean. That's the best analogy that I can come up with. So whatever the 1 page summary we're close to coming up with over here, they're not going to understand it. They're not going to be interested in it because they just won't see the true nature of our predicament. So you have to do a week understanding, what do they say the Statue of Liberty is and what is it really? And the seeing, okay, the Titanic story, first level fraud, second level conspiracy, seeing that things are multiple levels, going through. So, in other words, I'm not just saying this to justify the hundreds and hundreds of pages I wrote, all the middle chapters of the book. I'm not, those middle chapters, in a way, once you come out the other side and you see things with a new perspective, in a way are useless, but you wouldn't have the new perspective unless you went through that muck and you waded through the bog for years and years and you get covered in the slime. So I do, I do believe that that's necessary, and that's why I will always go back to pour more slime and more mud on people and go back into the muck. And it's amazing. I get these comments from people that are 10th level Jedi's. I've said many times, I'm catering to these people here. If it's not for you, then I don't know. Look at the top. I hope you don't leave the channel, but find one that's right for you. And hopefully this one is right for you. So we'll get into it. Let's just get right into it. A little bit higher level conversation, leaving the muck of and the mire of 9/11 behind. I'm surprised still, and I've always been surprised how triggered a segment of this community is when you talk about reality being an illusion, a simulation, a holodeck, a matrix. My best estimate is not a whole huge group, 10 to 15% don't like that at all. Don't like it, and I would say get triggered by it. Maybe 15% don't like it. 5 to 10% get triggered, where they do a little bit more. They just want to comment about, oh, you're wasting your time. Elon Musk talked about that, so that can't be right. Or Neil deGrasse Tyson pushed that. You're going to push it with Neil deGrasse Tyson? Well, if you want to go to the second and third layer, we can understand and explain all of this. Okay, we can explain why Neil deGrasse Tyson is talking about it, simulation, and why then I'm still talking about it. It's not. I don't think it's that hard to figure out what how what their goals are. The system. If you see how they scheme everything, if you see how they actually do present truth, then deflect it, put you where you shouldn't be, and then hijack it. That's what they do. And then, of course, regarding the Mandela effect, anybody that's Mandela affected, they keep right smack on top of their table that this is some sort of simulation. It's not really normal in a world where things are real and hard for reality to just shift in front of your very eyes. So those people have no problem having these conversations about a fluid reality or a simulation. But truth community, 30 to 40% don't like that conversation at all. 10% are highly triggered by the topic of the Mandela effect. And I would say maybe another 20% are polite about it. I go, well, Matt's talked about some interesting things over the years, and he's probably worth listening to, even though I don't really love this conversation, and this isn't a Mandela effect video. I'm just saying how there's different elements of the truth community that get triggered by these types of subjects. Now, let's just start with the basics, and this isn't going to be a video about we live in a simulation illusion. It's not going to be about that. It's going to be about why we still should keep those sorts of things on the table, even though, and I'll explain to you, how it's simple to reconcile, that even though loan scum, Elon Musk is talking about it, Neil deGrasse Tyson has these forums when people come as guests and they say there's computer code at the smallest level. How can both be going on at the same time? Because everything's a triple agent conspiracy. Nothing is as simple as it seems. So the system is ancient, evil, devious. They know if Neil deGrasse Tyson says something, that a huge portion of the truth community is going to latch onto it and say, "Oh, that's of the system. That's shill. That's They know that. They're not stupid. They follow everything we do. So I don't know. Let's just take an old example. No matter what you believe Wolfgang Halbig's hook role, whatever you believe his role to be. Okay, there's evidence on all sides, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus because there's no evidence of that. I listen. I'm skeptical, but that's not the purpose of this video. No matter what his role is, he's done a lot of good. That is undeniable. No matter what his ultimate role is, but in the example, let's just say, what was I talking about? Oh, here it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's just say this whole community loves Wolfgang Halbig and everything he does, and most people still do, and they probably have a right to. But let's just say he's beloved. Everybody loves him. So the system's not dumb. They'll have Neil deGrasse Tyson come out and say, "Oh, I love Wolfgang Halbig." So then half the truthers will abandon Wolfgang Halbig just because Neil deGrasse Tyson said. That's what the reaction they were looking for. Elon Musk will say, "Oh, I love what the work Wolfgang Halbig's doing." Oh, Elon Musk says it, so he must be bad. Is it really? We're just going to knee jerk that quickly? We're not going to think it through. We're not going to realize they know how we're going to react if Neil deGrasse Tyson says something or Lone Scum says something. See, it's not. It's they're operating on 3-4 levels and dimensions. So it's a dumb knee jerk reaction. We might say, well, what I was thinking about was, okay, let's just back up for a second. I'm not going to get into it in this video. But honestly, if this was a podium here, and I keep doing this example, but it works. There's a podium here and a podium here, and the person at the podium here is going to argue why this is a fluid reality, some sort of simulation, illusion, not real, and the person's over here going to argue everything's real and physical. This person has almost nothing in their arsenal to argue with. Almost nothing. This person has like 50 things. We could just go all day long. Reality completely breaks down at the quantum level. Something cannot be composed of itself. You can't just keep getting smaller and smaller particles. They don't understand the large, the macro. Then you have things like, you throw in things like the Mandela effect, and it's just hundreds of reasons. One of my most reason that I'm throwing my arms up again, going nothing's real, is just the ridiculous number coding in all of these events. I don't want to. It's not the purpose of this video, but I might as well mention it. It's something I've been thinking about. I have talked to Greg about it, bounced some ideas off of him, and he's provided some pretty interesting theories too. That let's just get right into it, and then I'll try to tie it together the best I can. Look, what's the first grade? The first grade truther mentality is when we see 9/11 coded in everything, and 666 coded in everything, and 666 is in the Chrome logo, and 33 is in everything, and shows up at every mass casualty event. We all get the notion, still do, which the more and more I think about it, it is absolutely ridiculous that, and I believe this for years and years myself, I don't now, that these Freemasons are running around every single event, movies, Back to the Future, they're coding everything, and they're doing it themselves. It's just of regular men, of regular women doing it. Guys, it's just the opposite of that. I'm very convinced. For example, reality itself codes these numbers. Whatever this is. Now, we'll talk about, no matter how real or fluid you think this is, reality itself codes in 9/11 constantly. Reality itself codes in 33 and some of these numbers. So it's just the opposite, I think, of what most people think. The reason the top of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry adopted it is because they carry some ancient knowledge. They know the code of the reality. That is one of the key code numbers of this reality. One of the key markers of reality are these certain numbers. In other words, there are occult numbers. We know the 88 and the 11 and the 9 paired with 11 and the 666, and we know these occult numbers. Now, did they make them? They made these just regular men and women in back rooms made these occult numbers? Well, who wants to, what number do you vote on, like picking fantasy football? Oh, I vote for 7. I vote for 7 and 11. They made them the occult numbers? Or did these people that carry some ancient knowledge and information sit back and observe reality? And these numbers have a significance in how reality is laid down. 33 is the same way. So it's a marker, a reality marker. They probably had noticed it. They probably carried forth some ancient information passed down, and they took it for themselves. It's not lodges running around encoding events. This is absurd, guys. Absurd. Okay? We need to move on. We need to think bigger. There's another mass casualty event next week. Did you code to 33? No, get on the horn. Get the grand master of DC to get on. Oh, you got to code the 33. Make sure you bring a fire truck in with a license plate. They don't do it that. Give me a break. The running around coding. Oh, Robert Zemeckis is doing Back to the Future 4. Make sure he codes the 9/11. Get on the phone with him. You think that's really what's happening? No. Okay, come on. These are reality markers. They understand how this reality plays out. And then they adopted the numbers. They noticed these numbers that they call occult. They didn't make the occult numbers. It's like the Wizard of Oz, guys. Dorothy goes in, and goes into Oz, and there's the horse with a different color, and they're going down the long hallway, and they're terrified, and they get in the smoke and the fire and the big head, and the Tin Man and the lion. If Toto didn't pull back that curtain, guys, they would believe that's reality. That's what's being presented to them. Oh, this grandiose, huge city of Oz and all this, and the wizard, and they've heard all this talk about this wizard. Even if it was a bad presentation, that's the reality they expected, that it would be a giant head and a thundering, booming voice. If Toto didn't pull the curtain, they would have left thinking, all four of them would have left, that was the Wizard of Oz. That was it. All powerful, incredible. They take interviews on CNN. I was in front of the Wizard of Oz. He was all powerful. See, it only changed when the curtain was pulled back, and that scene, more than any other scene, is a metaphor to what reality is. They're showing you the Oz person, or the guy, the regular man, represents maybe people that are in some of these societies, or the real secretive ones. Like Crowley came out of the OTO, and there's others besides the skull and bones is the one they just put in our face, but there's way more secretive ones. And but they're still men, and they're still regular people. And I think Wizard of Oz is showing you they have a finger on reality buttons, things we don't understand or can't comprehend. Just like Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Lion looking at the Wizard of Oz, that was real, of course. And what's the metaphor? Somebody behind the scenes, behind the curtain, had a hand on a reality lever. Smoke, fire, introduce this, pushed buttons. They have their fingers on certain aspects of reality, or reality levers that we don't understand. But they're not running around inserting numbers and license plates. It's showing up as part of reality itself. So this is just, if I needed another example why this is some sort of simulation, projection, fluid reality, it's just one more example. The endless coding and the numbers. Just you can think through even a few of these examples, and it gets ridiculous if you allow yourself. We all have bias. We all carry this tremendous bias. If you believe there's a truther that these secret societies are just running around planning the numbers, you put a lot of stock into that everything's being controlled from the lodge, and their head Rosicrucian is putting the numbers in everywhere as they lay down all these events. You have a lot of stock in that. It takes a really big person to say, I was wrong about all of that. We all carry tremendous bias. So people carry tremendous bias, and I still have a lot of conversations with people and comments and emails about where I say there's elements to this reality that we don't understand, how they lay certain things down. And people still tell me the old thing that I keep bringing up over and over, that with these mass events, it's just crisis actors that are paid and threatened. Guys, look, at this point, I've said it many times, there's been so many things pulled off over so many centuries. Okay, you just can't explain it away using normal understanding of what we think reality is. The normal understanding of the regular old common Joe and Jane human being. I'm just a regular old common Joe and Jane human being. People listening to this are just common regular old Joe and Jane human beings. When certain things are pulled off, and it's not just enough to pull it off, it's coded. It's coded with these numbers that pop up all the time, and just ridiculous reality anomalies, things that can't be explained, like what happened to the 500 videos that should exist, that should be pointed at the top of the South Tower. I didn't even mention that in the 9/11 video yesterday because we've been over it before. But major catastrophe, North Tower. About 30,000 people would have grabbed a video camera and pointed it in the general direction. There should be 500 videos, not 4 decent videos of a gray thing coming in. There were no planes to begin with anyway. So, but there's still, then Matt, what do you mean about video? Well, there should be 1,000 videos of just nothing coming in and the tower just blowing up. And if anything did come in, where are the 500 to 1,000 videos? This is a reality breakdown. Explaining it away with paid well and threatened, and just what you know about reality. What I know about reality can fit in this bucket here. It's nothing. What you know about reality fits in the bucket. It's like trying to put a puzzle together with 3 pieces. But it's a puzzle that should have 1,000 pieces, that has this huge lake scene with a forest, and you're trying to, no matter what I do with these 3 pieces, I'm not getting the picture, because you don't have all the pieces. We don't have all the pieces. There's elements here, or whatever the aspects of the minions, the creatures, or whatever here is here, the elements of the screen. There might not even be a boss level like we talked about. It's just the reality itself is a reality generation machine here to do something for our life journey. All the negatives that are here, all of the bullcrap put in our face, ultimately can be interpreted as it's here actually for our benefit. So we can see how not to be, what not to do, how to grow from it. But it's possible certain minions that carry forth that understand certain things about reality that you didn't get in your little bucket. You bought a Happy Meal. There's a burger, fries, and a little toy. That's all you have to work with. That's all I have to work with. That's why we're like, well, this doesn't make sense, but so it's just paid well and threatened. Paid well, that's all you know. That's all in your Happy Meal. That's all that's in there. There might be a whole universe of other Happy Meals and things in there that you can't even imagine or fathom. So all I can do is look at all of these events laid down from the beginning of time and just say they can't, regular men and women, Hillary Clinton types and Nancy Pelosi types, they can't pull this shit off. They're dumber than you and I. They're dumberer than you and I. So something else is going on. Okay, I've never said exactly what that something else is, but I've always been consistent saying something else is going on. There's too many events pulled off, guys. There's too much coding. There's too many things that just don't add up. I don't even want to get into the latest examples, but in terms of me coming to that conclusion, I came to that conclusion, say, on the 1,000th thing that broke down my laundry list of pages and pages and pages of if the word were real, this wouldn't occur. If the world were real, that wouldn't occur. What are the chances of this? What are the chances the Great Pyramid codes the speed of light into its longitude or latitude coordinates? It's endless anomalies that don't add up or impossible. So this shit ain't real. Okay, now getting back to the people that are triggered about, well, you can't say that, Matt. This is a simulation of some kind because I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say it. And if he's certainly about to deceive, well, maybe he's saying it because he knows if Neil said it, we'll run in the other direction. But here's what I think potentially is going on with that. Okay? And the famous Elon Musk, that lone scum, that absolute fraud, that monster, Elon Musk, in that conference, and he's so smug and arrogant, and I mean, I was going to say, I don't know if he's, he might be to me the most despicable human being that exists, because he's perpetuating the fraud on everybody at every level. He's not running or in charge of these companies. He's a puppet. He's a front man. He's a joke. But anyway, so he comes out at one of his conferences that are, he's answering questions, and what are the chances this is real? The chances of this being base reality real is 1 in billions. 1 in billions. And then everybody runs with that. The chance of this being base reality is 1 in billions because Elon Musk said that. But whenever they try to propagate, or Neil deGrasse Tyson with his little his minions on stage at the Isaac Asimov conference, and that what was it, Dr. James? I forget. He said that at the smallest levels, reality revealed some sort of computer code, and he said that 4 years ago. And I was talking with Greg, and we're saying, well, if he had that sort of breakthrough at the smallest levels, reality reveals computer code. Where's all the follow-up information? Where's all the studies on that? It just went away. He said that, and nobody cared to follow up on it. So I'm skeptical of whatever system minion Neil deGrasse Tyson puts on his stage, and many of them say, yeah, this is some sort of simulation. At the smallest levels, computer code we found zeros and ones. You've heard all that bullshit. But again, what do they do? What's the game of the minions that we should have figured out 5 or 10 years ago? They don't always just go 180 and say if the truth is over here, that they go 180 and say the truth is something completely different. If they know we're moving in a certain direction on finding truth, then the train may be out of the station, it might be unstoppable. They need to get in front of it and hijack it. Okay? They need to get in front of it. So if we're waking up to the fact that this shit ain't real, Men and women coding all these events and pulling off all these schemes, and nobody ever, they're never caught, and you know, and people still try to explain it away. Like, well, when they're caught, Matt, who are you going to report it to? CNN? Guys, there's a lot of, there's not something going on that we can't comprehend in this reality. There's a lot of shit going on that we can't comprehend. Just the way the fish in the fish tank don't truly understand their predicament either. But they're going to get out in front of it. Oh, this group over here of truthers, they're understanding things aren't quite real. Things are more fluid. So what are they going to do? They're going to they're going to say it was our idea. Oh, we live in a simulation. They're putting their hands up saying it themselves, because then they can, if we're going on this train track towards truth and the truth is here, they'll try to turn that track. They'll switch tracks with the lever. They'll pull the lever and switch tracks. And one of the ways I believe they're switching tracks, as we're figuring out that there's very little real in the situation we're in. You know, this is a diet soda or whatever. The can is 99 point whatever empty space. Well, how's that? Why didn't my hand just go right through it? My hand is 99 point whatever empty space. If a proton and an electron were here, a proton and a neutron were like here, the electron would be like 50 blocks away, no bigger than my fist. So all that empty space. Throw me a football, Tom Brady, and the football should go halfway through my hand, and it should just blend in. There has to be elements of simulation, elements that of perception, so we can navigate this world. It's not even worth talking about anymore. There is no argument on the other side of the podium. We can at least over here agree. We might agree on the basics. We can disagree on the specifics and the tactics, but. So they'll hijack it, they'll get in front of it, and what they want to do is, as we say more and more, this is a simulation or an illusion. They want us to believe it's a video game. Okay, they want us to believe it's a video game. This is, I believe, where they're going to take it. Where they're going to switch track, pull the lever, and take our train onto a different track, or better yet, no track. They'll just derail the train right off the side of the mountain. And they'll say, yeah, you guys were right. Smart. It's all fluid reality. It's a simulation. It's a video game. See, the opposite of that is likely what's real. It's that consciousness, we just get a sense. We just know. It's not coming from your brain. It's not coming from inside your mushy mashed potato brain between your ears consciousness. Me and many others, and most of you agree, we consciousness is somewhere else. The brain is like a walkie-talkie, so consciousness, which is like the ambassador for soul or spirit, can have this experience. The brain is like a receiving dish or a direct TV dish or a translator, and they've screwed with it, so now it's a governor. So it's slightly retarded. So we've lost our abilities. But it's not the brain. The consciousness can use the brain to experience this world, this realm. But how many of us think it's right? It's in between the ears. And was it Ruhn, R-U-H-N? I'm sorry the name. It's a Welsh name. I looked it up for the pronunciation and to get it right, and I still can't get it right. But he sent me something about the people in a forum talking about, not totally about simulated reality, but more about nature of consciousness and things like that. And there was a woman who was a neurologist, a accomplished neurologist, famous neurologist, but her practice was medicine. And you could just see, as you're watching the video, some of the smartest people are the most trapped in this little box. They can't think outside of it. And it was interesting, the conversations, but she didn't bring much to the table because she was so trapped inside of her textbooks, her medical textbooks. Just whatever the real answer is going to be, the thinking on it is going to be so monumental, so big, that it's not thinking around two corners, it's seeing around three corners at the same time. And she couldn't see outside of her medical textbooks. And there was a gentleman on the panel, and every time he started to talk in terms of huge ideas, and I'm listening and thinking, we conspiracy theorists jerks have been talking about that for, these science, it seems like you're catching up to us, the people in these communities, the people that talk about the nature of reality or little Mandela effect here and there. They're catching up to us. I'm not saying me, I'm saying as a community, we're ahead of them. I'm telling you, we're ahead of them because they're box thinkers. They can't leave their whatever they learned at MIT behind. And whatever you learned at MIT it's not going to be the answer. It's not going to be the answer. So he was a big thinker, and he was things, but again, things like we've always said, like consciousness has always been. Consciousness has always been. Oh, immortal self, divine aspects of self, immortal spirit. Consciousness has always been. Well, it's not in the brain. It's not behind the eyes, in between the ears, in a pile of mush that you call the brain. Consciousness. It's a joke. When you let that resonate through your inner tuning fork, your inner knowing, what comes out when you hit the tuning fork, it's a joke, a friggin' joke. Anybody would say consciousness is just of the brain. There could be dimensions right in front of us we don't even see. We only see 1% of the visible light spectrum or the radio frequency spectrum for visible light. What the senses take in is a joke. And people use that to say this world is real. This world's real. How much can the senses understand? Well, not even 1% of what exists. So you've formed your opinion based on not even 1% of what exists. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's anything, I'm just keeping all of these other things on the table. That it's likely this isn't as real as it feels. It's sensory. There's no way to sample this. It's just information going into the brain, which really that's more attached to the avatar body. It's not even you anyway. You are consciousness using the brain to interpret signals. There's no direct sampling of whatever this thing is. I could cut my head open, place it onto my brain. It's no direct sampling. So it's just, okay, guys, you understand my point. It's overwhelming that things are not as real as we think. So that we're going to figure this out. We're figuring this out. Consciousness has always been, and how how the different parts of the avatar work with immortal aspects of self and spirit. And they're going to try to hijack it, of course. So they're going to say, we're figuring it out now. It's all a hologram. It's all the Matrix. It is the Matrix. And Neil deGrasse Tyson will line up his minions for another Isaac Asimov forum. Just the name of it, just the science fiction minions that did the bidding of the system, like H.G. Wells, like Isaac Asimov. They'll say, it's a simulation. Then they'll hijack it and say, it's just a video game. And a video game, what's more empowering? Consciousness has always been. Consciousness actually does, whatever the environment is around us is a reflection of at least collective consciousness, if not individual consciousness. And your consciousness you have always been part of divine aspect, has always been. This life is a blink of a joke. You have always been. What's more empowering, that or it's just this seems like it's a video game, and where are they going to take it from there? Oh, we're going to create our own video game, and then we can get Ray Kurzweil to trap your consciousness in it, or they'll hijack it. So just because they say that this is some sort of matrix, that doesn't mean, because they said it, we can't talk about it. No, they're going to give us a lot of things until they're ready to pull the lever, and then the train tracks switch over, and then the train goes flying off the cliff. That's what they do. We don't know what they do by now. So, look, guys, I don't know if I was too clear or not, but I'm at the point where I am now. Again, through the throw a dart thing. Whatever it lands on, is just it's just a ridiculous event. I wrote something down about MH370, that Malaysian airliner that disappeared, and all the nonsense, and it was on every news station nonstop. And if you look at the Wikipedia, I'm sure there's numbers coded in it. And then, of course, and what a coincidence, a Malaysian airliner just a few weeks later was shot down over Ukraine or Russian airspace, shot down by a missile. I mean, could to have the biggest disasters of all time back to back with the same airline? Guys, nothing is real. Nothing is real. I'm not saying there wasn't a real airliner, but I'm saying whatever they told you happened didn't happen. Something else happened. We never get the real story from what you would call the news. So how about something as ridiculous as um, the World War One armistice date? Was it 11/11/18? I believe there's more. Just 11s. Let's code 11 into everything. Hamid Atta, 33-year-old pilot. Everything is coded right down to at all levels. You have the exact date of the end date, the armistice of World War One, is right in the license plate of the Archduke Duke Ferdinand, the guy that was supposedly from the Austrian-Hungary Empire that was shot and killed, and that led to World War One because, of course, the assassination of some asshole that probably nobody liked always leads to World War. That makes perfect sense. So a lot of people listening to this, of course, just said, yeah, of course, they tell us about the opening or the entree of all these countries into World War One that they cooked up. It wasn't about some assassination of some Archduke Ferdinand, and people listening to this now are basically shaking their head. Yeah, they cook up the reasons for war, but then that gets back to what I've been saying. So they just pulled that one off. They pulled the whole world into war. Just regular men and women, just the secret societies, people like Hillary Clinton sitting around the back room, and Alex Jones says he's a Rosicrucian. It's regular men and women sitting around drinking beer, PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and burping, and yeah, here's how we're going to get the world to war. And they just pull this stuff off. And actually, yeah, code the end date right in the license plate. Make sure that's there. That wasn't even probably discovered for 30 years later, so why was it done? So it doesn't add up. It's not regular men and women puppeteering everything successfully time after time. Puppeteering how we're gonna bait the Japanese to bomb Pearl Harbor, and we're gonna know about it, and then we're gonna use that, and just every single scheme of the minions is pulled off successfully. From Pearl Harbor to Hook to 9/11, and what about all the people that are going to run out after the first tower is struck? 1,000 people are going to run out and point their camera in the general direction. What are we going to do about that? If there's no real, what are we going to do? Oh, we'll just pull some reality levers, because there's no way regular men and women can account for all this shit. It's too much. Looking back over time, too many things. Now the Civil War isn't even adding up. I mean, we all thought, 25,000 dead, or at least the Confederates lost that. Oh yeah, no, it's like 4,500 dead in the Civil War. No, sorry, Gettysburg, sorry. Gettysburg is like 4,500 dead Confederate, 3,900 dead. Even that's like a reality breakdown that's starting to break down. Because if the official numbers still show 600,000 dead for the Civil War. So if the biggest battle is roughly 9,000 dead for the Civil War. Let's put that over 600,000 divided by 9,000. Well, sorry, the other way around. Math is not my forte. 9,000 divided by 600,000. Whoops. Oh, so of all the deaths in the Civil War, and when they say that 600,000, I don't think they're counting like civilians that were starved out, or I don't think so. It's 1.5%. The biggest slaughter anybody's ever heard of, Gettysburg, 1.5%. Where'd the other 98.5 of the deaths come from if Gettysburg can only produce 1.5%? See, the 600,000 doesn't jive with all of reality is breaking down, and people they'll still dig in that everything's real. Everything's real. Okay, guys, I guess that's enough. Thanks for watching. No matter what you agree or disagree, please stay open-minded. I mean, you have to be open-minded, no matter what you agree with or don't agree with in terms of what I just said.